Most people think of narcissists as simply arrogant or self-centered. But that's only the surface. The truth is far more dangerous. Narcissists don't just crave admiration. They build their identities around controlling how others see them.
And that control often comes at a cost you don't realize until it's too late.
The real danger of a narcissist isn't in their ego. It's in their ability to manipulate your mind while making you believe it was your idea all along. Narcissistic manipulation is not always loud. In fact, it's most effective when it's quiet, subtle, and disguised as love, charm, or concern. Narcissists are not villains in black cloaks. They're often the people who seem the most confident, the most charming, the most impressive. They draw you in with compliments, with empathy, with grand visions of the future. But beneath that polished surface lies a deep need for control, admiration, and emotional supply. And once you're pulled into their world, they begin to rewrite your reality, one interaction at a time. It usually starts with idealization. You meet someone who seems to truly see you. They compliment you in ways that feel specific, intimate, and real. You feel a rush of connection. They tell you how special you are, how different you are, how much potential they see in you. And in that moment, it doesn't feel manipulative. It feels magical. You think you found someone who finally understands you. But what's actually happening is the beginning of a psychological seduction. The narcissist is mirroring your desires, feeding your ego, and learning your emotional blueprint. Once the bond is strong, the tone begins to shift. This is where manipulation takes root. You might notice they become critical, but it's wrapped in concern. They start making decisions for you, but claim it's for your benefit. They question your memory, but say you're just stressed. Over time, you begin to feel unsure of yourself. You second-guess your thoughts. You filter your words to avoid conflict. You wonder if you're too sensitive. This is the phase of destabilization, where the narcissist starts to chip away at your sense of reality so that their version becomes the one you trust more. This is not accidental. Narcissists are emotional strategists. They use a tactic called gaslighting, where they deny, distort, or dismiss your experiences. You bring up something they said, and suddenly you're being told it never happened. You express hurt, and you're accused of overreacting. You raise a boundary, and you're met with silence or rage. The goal isn't just to win the argument. The goal is to exhaust your certainty. Because once you start questioning your own perceptions, you become easier to control. And when the narcissist becomes your only source of clarity, they own your mind. Control doesn't always look like shouting or punishment. Sometimes it looks like passive withdrawal. The narcissist pulls back emotionally, not because you did something wrong, but because they want you to chase their approval. This tactic is called intermittent reinforcement. One moment they shower you with affection. The next, they're cold and dismissive. This emotional inconsistency keeps you hooked, like a gambler waiting for the next reward. You become addicted to the validation, and in that addiction, you surrender more of yourself to the cycle. Narcissists are experts at turning your strengths into weaknesses. If you're empathetic, they'll weaponize your compassion to excuse their behavior. If you're confident, they'll challenge you until your self-esteem cracks. If you're honest, they'll twist your words until you feel guilty for speaking truth. They don't just lie to you. They lie about you. They triangulate, bringing in other people to validate their narrative and isolate you further. They plant seeds of doubt. They reframe your intentions. And all of it is done with a calm face and perfect timing. But perhaps the most chilling form of manipulation is how narcissists make you feel like the abuser. After all their lies, emotional games, and psychological warfare, you find yourself apologizing. You find yourself pleading. You find yourself explaining over and over, trying to get them to understand your heart. But they understand it perfectly. They just don't care. Narcissists use your hope against you. They count on your belief that things can get better. That if you just love harder, explain clearer, or sacrifice more, they'll finally treat you right. But they won't. Because it was never about love. It was about control. What's even more dangerous is that narcissists often appear as victims. They talk about how others hurt them. They cry about betrayal. They tell you they've been misunderstood. And in the beginning, you feel protective of them. You want to be the one who shows them what real love looks like. But what you don't realize is that their victimhood is a weapon. It earns them sympathy. It lowers your defenses.
And it allows them to manipulate you without triggering your alarms.
Because how can someone so hurt also be so harmful? Narcissistic manipulation is designed to be invisible. That's why it works.
It doesn't leave bruises. It leaves confusion.
It doesn't scream abuse. It whispers doubts. And unless you understand the psychological patterns behind it, you will blame yourself for the damage they caused. You will think you were too emotional, too needy, too difficult. But you weren't. You were simply pulled into a system built to disorient, deplete, and dominate. But here's the truth that sets you free. Manipulation loses its power when you name it. The moment you begin to see the patterns, the cycle starts to break. When you stop explaining yourself, stop justifying their behavior, and start trusting your own reality, you reclaim your mind. And that is the one thing a narcissist cannot stand. A person who no longer depends on their version of truth. Recovery from narcissistic manipulation isn't just about leaving.
It's about unlearning.
It's about rebuilding your sense of self, reclaiming your boundaries, restoring your intuition, and remembering that your worth was never defined by someone else's inability to love you with respect. In the world of dark psychology, narcissists are some of the most skilled manipulators. But their power doesn't come from magic. It comes from silence, shame, and confusion. And once you understand the tools they use, you take those tools away. You learn to recognize the love bombing, the gaslighting, the triangulation, the control. And more importantly, you learn to walk away, not with bitterness, but with wisdom. This isn't about revenge. This is about clarity. This is about seeing through the illusion and choosing yourself. Because you are not too sensitive. You are not too dramatic. You are not too much. You were simply too open with someone who saw that as an opportunity to control rather than connect. So let this be the beginning of your awakening. The beginning of your healing. The start of a new story where your mind belongs to you again. Where your voice is trusted. Where your emotions are respected. And where manipulation has no room to grow. If this message resonates with you, you're not alone. Millions of people are waking up from the trance of narcissistic relationships. And the more we share these truths, the less power narcissists have in silence. This is Psych Secrets. Subscribe to learn how to protect your mind, sharpen your awareness, and master the art of influence. Stay sharp, stay aware, and never let anyone rewrite your reality again.